It is 5 a.m. and this is a meditation on humor in religion. Is there any religion where there is a true sense of humor? And it seems to me we shouldn't trust any religion that doesn't have a sense of humor. Speaking of which, I wonder, I haven't Googled it, but is there one joke to be found in the Bible? I think that's an interesting question. I mean, there are many profound teachings, but I would like to know, is there one joke to be found in the Bible? Maybe the joke is how much of an idol it has become. I often think the central teaching of the Bible is against idolatry, yet the Bible itself has become an idol, and that, in a way, is kind of a joke, but it's not what I'm really talking about. So one thing that appealed to me when I was first encountering it was there were some fairly humorous stories in Zen, especially from Ikkyu and Hakuin. And Ryokan, I have not read the third one, but Ikkyu's, some of Ikkyu's poems are quite funny, or describing funny situations. And this is his calligraphy. Ikkyu, one pause. I guess that's what this is. Ikkyu, one pause. And it's a pun on a phallic symbol, sex being central to Ikkyu. 1,000 years hence, only the descendants of Ikkyu will struggle to keep his spirit alive. And then there is Hakuin, who came after Ikkyu in the 1600s. This is a great picture of Bodhidharma. This is Ikkyu's disciple with an inscription by Ikkyu. Boy, that's some great calligraphy. Who else can set his mind at rest? Long ago, Shinko stood at Shorinji, unaware of the snow piling up around him, while Daruma faced the wall, not revealing his face. Then there's Hakuin. He had a very tough practice, very rigorous. But his paintings are somewhat humorous, some of them. He had his portrait. Let's see, this one is not the one I'm thinking of, but it's very cartoonish style. Anyway, so for humor, Japanese Zen is a possible candidate, except in actual practice is very serious and, militaristic and brutal. Very brutal, or at least the accounts of people, Westerners. Suzuki Roshi sent some Westerners to practice in the 60s from San Francisco, and not all of them succeeded, and some quit permanently, and after being abused and gone gone through the rigors. So, seeking real Zen, maybe Japan was not the place to go back in the 60s. Because all religions evolve, from the founders. They lose the spirit, and then just the forms become a formality, and maybe brutality was what was left of the form. But here's an account of some relatively modern Zen masters. You can see some humor here. There's Uchiyama Roshi. 5 Zen masters of modern Japan. So this, and then, of course, Eckhart Tolle is the one I would think of for the best sense of humor. And he's so always chuckling and it's kind of encouraging. I mean, I would say he's evidently an enlightened teacher. And it's encouraging to me, his sense of humor and is pretty genuine. And he's so non-sectarian. He occasionally references the teachings, but doesn't emphasize them. It's kind of psychotherapeutic. And Suzuki Roshi, you can see the sense of humor here, but he was a very fierce guy as well. Some of the stories that are in the Cuke website are, describe his fierce attitude towards the students, and like one of them in the river, he was trying to move the rock, and students gave up, and Suzuki Roshi did it by himself, and then exerted it so hard he had to stay in bed for 3 days. That was a fierce determination, but yet he had some humorous. He would laugh a lot during his talks. And this guy, he founded the website Cuke, C-U-K-E, with stories about Suzuki Roshi, an American Zen failure. So he was one of the ones that went to Japan to get the authentic Zen. It's been a few years, I guess. Came back with his robes and authentic Zen robes, and never put the robes on after he came back, which I think is kind of funny. And there's another contemporary young guy who went over to Japan. Somehow got transmission, just came back and is teaching a fairly humorous version of Zen. And of course there is Dafri John, whose talks are on YouTube. And his talks are really funny. Some of them. I mean, he just cracks everybody up. And it's, I didn't know anything about him except the bookstore Open Secret in San Rafael at the time I was first looking for books. Had a whole wall full of his books because the owners were devotees, I guess. And so I picked, I was wondering, who was this guy? So I started reading, and it was kind of interesting story. And this is a book by a devotee who I met in the Open Secret bookstore. And he told me the story of doing this book. He was the editor, and Dafri John instructed or desired that he do the book, which he did. And he worked really hard on it, he said. And I just happened to randomly bump into him in the bookstore, and he showed me his book was on the shelf, so here he is when he first started teaching, 1972. And here, you can see the humor there. Anyway, if you're looking for religion with a sense of humor, I'm not sure what the community is up to now, but his videos are very humorous. So it's an encouragement that humor is an essential part of religion. And just as an aside, my first Dokusan in the Zen retreat, I had a Kensho experience, and go into Dokusan, and the teacher gives you a question to see, what your state is. And what he presented to me was two pictures of two Japanese monks, one a serious monk, one a laughing monk. And he asked me, which one of these do you think is really enlightened? Something like that. I don't remember exactly. And so I thought, well, for sure the laughing monk. And he chuckled and agreed with me. So that's my story about realization, true realization. Can lead to a humorous outlook, even though we've come through all the suffering and ego death, and have seen clearly, the suffering on everyone's face as we are embodied on this human plane of samsara. Yet, as Rinzai says, through each one of you, I see the true person of no rank coming in and out. Those who have not verified it, look closely.